Is it started, Josh? No worries. As everyone knows, technology has its way of not always working the way you want it to. But yeah, thank you, I guess, everyone for coming along today. I hope you enjoy it. This is our third panel discussion, but our second one for International Women's Day. So in a week's time, it's International Women's Day, and I guess on the 8th of March 2023 was when we did our first ever in-person panel discussion networking event. We brought together a group of incredible women to come to learn about sort of their different experiences, but also to talk about the importance of representation. And that's where Let's Empower sort of all the idea came from. For a few new faces in the room, or for those who might need a reminder, Pick Up the Mic is a podcast network that supports students and young people with their development. We look at their journey holistically. So we look at professional and personal development. We look at living on campus and the experiences that come with that. We look at entrepreneurship and business because we know both within ourselves as young people, but also through the many people that you've actually heard from here today. Most of them have been on the podcast. Entrepreneurship is such an important part of young people's lives nowadays, but also because we know that with the young people, there's definitely a tendency to have a lot of focus on that professional element. We also look at their hobbies and their interests. So specializing within gaming, anime, and of course, sci-fi and fantasy, because we know that's where the audience is. The reason why I've got this is because we got a question, as our audience will know, we got a question that came in, which was, what are the strategies that are in place to ensure that you, our attendees, or those who are watching this, you leave feeling empowered and motivated to make a positive impact in your communities, and especially to the students out there, how can you make the most of this in terms of personal and professional development? So to answer the first one, the easiest way to do it is just to ensure that you definitely take heart what's being said. The panel and the host are incredible women who are all doing incredible things. People who know me know that I don't like to introduce people because I think it's best to hear from them, and I'll never do justice to the incredible stuff that these amazing women do. So I'm going to let you hear from them what they do in just a short moment, but also about how can you leave this event feeling connected and feeling that you can make a positive impact. The whole idea of Let's Empower was to foster that connection with people. People who know me personally, as is sort of, before we start the live stream, my old manager, Leslie, knows I'm big on connecting people and bringing them together, so that is part of the reason why this event exists. So make sure whether you're watching from Brunel, whether you're watching from your room, whether you're in this room here today, you do network and connect. There are some people that I will be introducing because that's just me. I like to connect people. But yeah, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of our amazing host, Sephi. I'll pass this to you. She's got a great set of questions to speak to you about, and then we have a big surprise that we're going to announce at the very end. So yeah, I'll keep it closed. But actually, sorry, yeah, I'll leave it till the end. But yeah, Josephine or Sephi, over to you.
Thank you. So yeah, we've got an amazing panel of 4 women today. I'll give a bit of information about them and then go into questions. So first up, we have Hami, who runs Nyangibo Gallery, a digital fine art gallery with both online and in-person exhibitions, specializing in extended reality. She advocates for viewing technology as a tool rather than a dependency, and is passionate about empowering artists to utilize technology as a medium for full self-expression. We also have Elise, who has a background in international public policy, anthropology, and professional development. She is currently a junior user experience researcher at the fintech company Moneybox. On top of that, she also runs a business called See Me Stationery, where she sells notebooks that represent women of colour. And we have Shakira, who is a successful actor, writer, director, poet, and producer. She co-runs a theatre and live events production company called Piece of Cake Productions, a creative hub dedicated to championing and creating opportunities for Black and global majority artists. And last but not least, we have Indy. She is an award-winning entrepreneur, government consultant, and global coach. She is the founder of Halo, a cutting-edge safety app which aims to protect women, students, and lone workers. And it's set to launch later this year, so look out for it. And she is also the head of programs and community for a platform fostering connections and opportunities for entrepreneurs while championing diversity. So could we give a round of applause to our panel? So I'm just going to ask you all a question to start with. So what motivates you to do the work that you do?
Yeah, it's definitely twofold. I think there's like personal motivation and then sort of external motivation. So I guess externally, kind of seeing people really thrive in their creative practice really motivates me to give them a space to share that. And kind of seeing people flourish and be really good at what they do really, really does motivate me to hopefully empower them to do that even better. And then personally, it's a difficult one because like motivation kind of wanes quite a lot, especially as like an entrepreneur. But I guess it is that external motivation that does also personally motivate me to know that I'm helping, to know that I'm doing something good, also to know that I'm doing something that I really actually want to do. Can be quite motivating, but yeah, it does wane a bit sometimes.
I think my motivations are regarding my business, in terms of my stationery business. Selling notebooks for women of colour particularly comes from my own kind of original insecurities and the fact that like I didn't really see people represented on physical products as well as in the media, right? So when I wanted to write out my feelings, my goals for the future, I had no one to look at when literally opening something. So I did that originally because I felt that I wanted to see young girls and even women of my age group have that representation now. And then when it comes to my mentoring of students at the moment, it's because it's like the worst thing, you're about to graduate and being like, oh, what am I going to do job-wise? You're promised all this stuff at university and actually putting that into action is difficult. So if I can help people and let them know what their transferable skills are, where they can look to in the future, then I definitely want to do that. And it's really, really fulfilling, definitely.
Your eyelashes are beautiful, by the way. I think, what motivated me to start Piece of Cake Productions was I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for the first time ever as an actor in 2019, and I was really excited because I'd heard so much about, the world's biggest theatre festival, and I was so excited to see all the different types of theatre that I'd never seen before, but I was only seeing one type of theatre, and that was predominantly white middle class theatre, because unfortunately the arts in this country are being drained by the government, and that means that only people who have extra money are able to go and do a month in another country and, do a play pretend for a month. That was confusing for me. I'm very much someone who is motivated by being the change that I want to see in the world, which is a lot of responsibility to put on my own shoulders, and I constantly have to tell myself off, like, why do you have to have this type of brain? But it is the way I am, and I've accepted that. So yeah, Piece of Cake came from that. I was also in my first year of drama school and was very aware that in a couple of years' time I was about to graduate and enter an industry that wasn't built for people like me to exist in. So my one solution was, I'll create a company where a bunch of us can get together and we'll make our own art. Then if we can't go where you lot are, we'll just be over here doing our thing. And so far so good. And I guess similar for what motivates my personal stuff, I just don't want to do anything else. Like, I literally can't be bothered to do anything other than tell stories for a living, whether that is via poetry, acting, writing, or directing. I just have a lot of ideas and really rate them. So I want other people to see them and hear them, I guess.
You're cool.
I have a saying. I will burn this entire world down and build a new foundation if it means the sins of our ancestors are not repeated by our legacy. For me, people are everything. I am motivated by people and change in everything I do. I do a bunch of stuff, but my favorite thing is helping people do the things that they want to do that will change their world. Because if they change their world and if they change their thinking, they do that for their future, not necessarily just for their kids, but for their friends, for their families, for the people around them. I think something we don't realise is that we have an impact on people even if we're not directly talking to them. And so everywhere I go, my purpose is to actually just motivate people. I don't need to talk to you to motivate you, you just have to see the things I do. And so for me, I am just motivated by the vision of knowing that I am creating a world or having an impact on a world that will do better, because I'm only allowed to sit here because of what my mum did and what her mum did to ensure that I had the freedom and the access that I have. And don't get me wrong, you know, let's be real, being black and being female in today's world is very, very hard. And then I'm neurodivergent as well, so it's just like, pick a problem, Indy, like, what are you? But even with all of that, I am so privileged because I have access and I have a mind that won't be, I'm just loud and unapologetic, and I think that's what motivates me, the hope of knowing that actually I have created a space for someone that I may not even know that can do more and do better. So yeah, that's me.
I love that all of you spoke about helping other people, but also being mindful of looking after yourself. So a question for all of you again. How do you look after your well-being and mental health? It's a big question.
I'm going to be completely honest and say that I was very burnt out last year. Like, I pretty much stopped working for the whole of December because I just worked way too much. And that is a trap that is so easy to fall into when you are running your own thing, because you don't have anyone else that you can blame anything on. Like, if you don't do it, it won't get done. So the biggest things I learned from that is ask for help. If you can, let other people in on what you're doing. That's what I'm trying to do now, because, yeah, but like having the whole world on your shoulders is not fun, and you will get burnt out and it will take you a while to recover. Another thing that I am now doing, I'm trying to incorporate a lot of breaks. So I'm trying to not work past 8 p.m. every day. I was working till like 3 a.m. Sundays most days, which is not good. So like really kind of imposing boundaries like with yourself, and also again with other people. So you're not just saying yes to everything that comes your way. That's probably the best way I've managed to kind of like take care of myself, and like constantly like evaluating and knowing that you can change things if they're not working for you. Like if you are stuck in that pattern, if you are heading down that burnout route, like really kind of saying it doesn't have to be like that. But yeah, those are my, I guess, 4 tips.
I really did like what you said about asking for help, because I think that's something that I've had to actively start doing in terms of my mental health and stuff as well. Because I remember recently I was literally at work and I was stressing about something, and someone opposite me said, "Are you okay? Do you need help with anything?" And I was like, no, it's something you can do about it. I sorted out the issue, then realised he was from the exact same department that I needed help from. And I was like, had I just said yes? Do you know what I mean? So I feel like telling people like what you're going through, what you're struggling with is really important. But for me, one of the things that I'm really starting to do is like I actively work out now. I've been doing like, working out 4 times a week for like the last 2 months consistently with my partner. And that's been really good for me to have some type of routine. I'm not saying that you have to do that to improve your mental health, but having a routine is really good. Well, the mic, okay. But that's really important to me. And then also I'm doing less stuff. So at one point I was running my stationery business, I was mentoring people, I was working, I was doing my masters. So the 2 a.m.s, 3 a.m.s, I feel you on that one. I've had to stop doing that so that I can prioritize what's important to me and what I really want to set one goal and follow that through. And I'm hoping that doing things like therapy will really help me figure out like root issues and how to fix those, and I can reach my goals in not just like running to the end and collapsing, but like running to the finish and being like yes and like feeling that. So don't be caught in like the shackles of your own ambition is like what I say a lot. I'm now free from that, so I hope that other people can do that too. But yeah.
Yeah, retweet both of you. There's so much else I can add. My therapist says, well, I have this thing of worrying about taking my foot off the gas. I work in an industry where it's very kind of like not many people get jobs, and I was really fortunate because I had put in so much work whilst I was at drama school. I was making this theatre company whilst I was still studying, and I was networking, and like during lockdown I was on any Zoom writing workshop or acting workshop. I was making sure people knew who the F I was. Which meant that when we graduated, boom, straight out the gate, I'm getting jobs, and obviously that's amazing. And like, it's been like, it's such a fortunate issue to have, inverted commas, that I've got so many opportunities coming my way. But what it means is like, I feel like I can't say no to any of them, because like there's so many people who would be so grateful to have them, and I feel ungrateful when I moan about being too busy or being burnt out, because so many other people would love to have these opportunities, but like I am also not a robot. So I'm very much on that journey, but my therapist says I need to reframe it to not be taking my foot off the gas, but to be putting the car into cruise control. Donna, she's honestly, this woman, I love her so much. But yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, and it goes like in waves. There's sometimes where I feel so stable and I've got my routine and I'm saying no to things and I'm feeling on cloud nine, and then I just all of a sudden find myself in burnout again, and I'm like, how did I get here? Like, I thought we were healing, sis. Like, relax. Why are you crying again? So yeah, I think my biggest thing that I'm working on right now is forgiving myself when I do go back to my old ways of these like unrelenting standards and these things of like just this voice in my head that I must have developed at some point in my younger life that meant that success is tied to how much I'm achieving, and like I think I just want to try and reframe what success is, because a lot of my idea of what success is around finance, is around like career achievements, and the thing is I'm achieving all these things, and on paper it's like, yeah, like Shakira's winning, and I'm like, but I feel like I'm in a vortex of like everything is happening right now, and so people are telling me you're doing amazing, and I know I am, but I'm not feeling it because I'm not giving myself 5 minutes to sit in it. I'm not going into cruise control. So yeah, this year is about pressing that button and actually like looking at the stuff that I have achieved and enjoying it while it's there, rather than buying into this thing of what's next and what am I going to do next. And yeah, I think social media breaks are great for that, especially if you're in the entertainment industry, because you could have just announced that you've booked this amazing gig, but then you're seeing someone else do something that you would like to do. And even though you're both achieving, you're like, but I'm not where they are. It's like, yeah, but you're where you are, and that's still good. So yeah, I guess just slowing down is the aim.
I agree with all of you guys. I come from a community where we're all like extremely high achievers, and I understand why, because being good is such an important thing so that you can grow to do great things. And in my household, in my family, like we all have masters and PhDs. Like that's the type of excellence that was always expected from me and my family. And then in my friendship groups as well, we're the type of people where we have like 10 million businesses and projects and things happening. And one day I literally just realized doing loads of things is not a flex in any way, shape or form. It's great, but it's not a flex, because what that means is that you are always considered to be the strong person that has it all together. And I am the mother in my friendship group as well. So when there are issues, everybody comes to Indy, but I'm the baby in my friendship group as well. But because of my, I would say, personality in terms of just trying to be a leader and always trying to have things together, it means that a lot of the times before, my friends would never check on me, but I would check on them. And so something I've implemented is just the need to have more community. I think we take for granted having people that we can just talk to about anything and feel safe. And so now me and my friends, we just have a games night every month where we actually haven't even played games. We just talk trash and crap. But we realise that that's also a healthy space to do that, because we're all here together. So let's just talk nonsense and deal with it. And we have a specific WhatsApp group where it's called the Chats of Joy. But in reality, we just moan a lot. But it's good moaning. It's all good stuff. Like something I learned is that you cannot hold your stress in, because it will come out, and it just depends on how it comes out. So it's about finding those spaces, those moments where you can let it out in a very controlled and supportive way. So for me, people are everything. Having that community of friends and families that can just kind of like make sure I'm good, even though I know I'm not good. And I think the number one thing for me is just prayer. Like, one of my biggest goals this year is just to be all up in God's business so that I'm his favourite. I know I'm his favourite. I just need to remind him that I'm here. And that's really important. That has been the biggest game changer in my life.
That's really powerful. I think community is so important. At work, we have basically a group of ethnic minority colleagues. We have a safe space, and sometimes the news is quite heavy, so the topics are quite heavy. But the last one was so fun, and it was it ran over by half an hour. And we're just talking about reality TV shows people are watching. I don't know, Love Is Blind, Love After Lockup, Real Housewives of everything. And people left feeling so happy and oh no, it's okay to go back to work and do the thing I didn't really want to do because I have this space to just be me and talk about the thing that I really love that maybe is rubbish TV, but I love it. So it's really powerful. And I watched a clip about the journey. So someone got valedictorian in the US, which is a really huge achievement in high school. But for his speech, he said he missed out on so much. He said he worked so hard to get it, and he's proud that he got it. But he missed so much. He missed friends' birthdays, things with his family, because he was focused on that. And it's really important to have fun along the journey that you're going on. So Indy, while you've got the mic, I'll ask you a question. So you touched on this before, but you spend a lot of time as an angel investor for early stage founders. What's one valuable piece of advice you'd give to them?
One piece of advice I give to anyone that is looking to raise money is, I think people think that people invest in the business when in reality you invest in the person, only because everything has been done before, it's been dreamt before, it's been wished before, and you sometimes, based on whatever's happening in the world, have to pivot. So when I look at people I invest in and I look at the business, obviously there are key factors within the business that you have to focus on, but I look at the person. Can I work with them? Can I support their growth? Will they have impact in what they are doing? Are they motivated by what they are doing? Why are they doing it? And why should I invest in them? The thing about being an angel investor is that you are not just giving money, but you're giving a lot of time and you're giving a lot of resources. And so if I'm opening my network to you, I need to know that actually you are willing to grow and develop your idea, or pivot it if you need to. So for anyone that is starting a business or needs funding, I think it's really important to be able to detail who you are, what your business is, and why you developed it in the first place. And then that is a great starting point.
Thanks. And I just have a follow-up question. So you call yourself a disruptor. What does that mean to you, and why is it important?
I'm very unapologetic about everything I do. I mean, I started this off by saying I'm going to burn stuff down. I think we live in a world where, being a woman, we were always told that we have to be submissive, we can't have dreams, we can't have a future, we can't be more than what we are told we need to be. And I refuse to bring kids, bring friends and family into a world where actually they are limited. There are no limits. That's the thing. The thing people don't realise is that fear and limitations are things we put on ourselves. They exist because we allow them to exist. But if we choose to build it, we might fail, we might fail, we might fail, we might fail, we might fail. But sooner or later we will succeed. And so for me, being a disruptor is literally just not allowing the thoughts in my head, because I'm human, to affect the journey that I'm saying I'm going to go on, and dragging everyone with me. So that actually, if I have a friend that is struggling, but I can see they have goals, my job as a disruptor, as your friend, is to just drag you until you realise that oh my gosh, I can do this. I leave no one behind. I bring everyone with me. And that's what it means to be a disruptor.
Thank you. Thank you. Mic drop. Shakira, I also have a question for you. As a writer, you transitioned from the stage to the screen. What inspired you to do that?
Money, no. No, it is definitely a big part of it, but that wasn't why I started it. There's a big difference with anything in the entertainment industry to do with stage and screen. And what's very interesting is when you speak to any of us who have either acted or written or produced for either one, everyone will always tell you that they have such a better time doing it for theatre. You get paid in peanuts, and then you have less of a fun time, and it's much more corporate and much more rigid in doing it screen, but you get paid a lot more. I'm currently working on an indie film, so I'm actually somewhere in the middle where I'm not getting paid a lot. But I'm so passionate about the project that I've just written. It's a short film that's being funded by the BFI, which I'm very proud of. It's my first screen adventure, and I've set it in my hometown of Portsmouth, where I grew up. And the protagonist is of mixed race, as I am, and it's just talking about being of colour in a non-diverse city, and the nuances of being lighter skinned in that instance, so you're tolerated a lot more than other people would be. But there's also that added layer of, in those sort of areas, you're, regardless of how much melanin you have in your skin, you still have melanin in your skin, and that's all they're focusing on. You know, I don't think a lot of people when I was growing up were focusing on my white mum. I think they were focusing a lot more on my black dad. And it's actually a very interesting, fun story, and there's like loads of action in it, and I'm excited to do that. The transition over came from just wanting to do more all the time. I have ADHD, and part of that means that I'm filled to the brim of ideas, and I constantly want to sort of bring those ideas to fruition. And moving into film just felt like a next step for me. I'd written a play, I'd done a play, and I'd done a few plays, and I love theatre, but I was like, okay, but I've done that now. What's next? I'll do a film then. Let's try it. And fortunately, yeah, I got the funding, and we're on our way with that. But yeah, there's not much I can really comment on with regards to the transition from one to the other. I just want to constantly be telling stories in any way, whether it's on the stage, on screen, in the middle of the road, at the pub. Like, I've just, as you can tell, I love to chat.
And I just have a follow-up question. So how do you think your identity has shaped the way you tell stories, particularly in your play, Things I Can Laugh About Now?
Wow. Yeah, I guess so. I think everyone always says your first play is always a bit more like autobiographical or semi-autobiographical, because you can only sort of write from what you know. And Things I Can Laugh About Now was based on a much younger version of myself. And I guess the tagline for this play was looking at the love we accept in our adult life based off of the love that we received in our formative years. So Girl goes to therapy for a breakup from this really messy relationship she's just had, and whilst she's there, she starts to realise that there's actually a lot more that she needed to unpack. And it's a tragic comedy because it's hilarious and people are laughing, but the content is really not that funny. I'm really proud of that play. It was so cathartic for me. Like I said, it was very loosely based on like my actual lived experiences. So it's like, I don't know what kind of sociopath gets on stage by herself every night for 2 different separate runs in a year to just talk about all the stuff she's been through and have people laugh with her about it. But yeah, it was really freeing, and I think the most beautiful thing was, obviously, very specifically, I am a mixed race woman who had gone through these very specific things, but I was having people from all different demographics coming up to me afterwards and saying that they saw themselves in the characters, and I purposefully I didn't give any of the characters a name. So the character that I played was called Girl. The guy that she's talking about breaking up with was called Him. Her best friend who helps her out at one point is called Angel. Like, everyone has this very vague names because I wanted people to be able to come and just be able to project their own things on it. And I had, middle-aged white men coming to me and being like, I saw myself in the character. I'm like, that is wild, but I'm so happy. And I have people come up to me afterwards and say, I really feel like I'm gonna go to therapy now after watching this. I feel like I need it. Or like, I was dating someone like the character Slash and I'm gonna block him now. Yeah, like if my art can get you to block toxic, gross people, then like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. Yeah, as I just mentioned with my film as well, I feel like everything any storyteller ever does is always going to be littered in some way with their own lived experience. And obviously, I'm really looking forward to getting to a point in my career where I have someone come to me and say, write a play about these aliens who do this thing, which is obviously like so far away from my actual lived experience. But even then, it's still going to have like my old neighbour as one of the aliens. Do you know what I mean? Like you can only really write from your own experience, and I think that's what makes it so authentic. And I think that's what makes my art, or what connects people with my art is it is so real. And I've never tried to sort of do that thing of telling a story that's far from self. And as a producer from a theatre company, when people send us scripts, it's very apparent when someone has sent us a script and it's not their lived experience, even if they've done a little bit of research, or maybe they know someone of that demographic, or they know someone who went through this thing. Just from the first read, you can really tell what it's like, this is so far from the story. And then I, as a producer, it's my job to sort of interrogate them and be like, why are you telling this story? Like, why is it you that needs to tell this story? And we can all tell any story we want to, but you just need to have the right motivation behind it, and yeah, the right team, and just work on it and do enough research. Because I think we as consumers, you watch TV shows and films and you're like, they didn't have anybody of this demographic on the writing team, and you can just tell. And the last thing I ever want to do is release art into the world that feels false.
Yeah, that's really important. I think, yeah, across all art, storytelling is so powerful because, like you said, people can connect. The song that was written about, I don't know, someone's friend, people listen to and cry because they're like, that was me. So yeah, it's really powerful.
Like, you listen to like breakup songs when you're like 7, you've never even been with someone, you're like, oh my god.
I listen to like my dad's really into country music, but he had this like Dolly Parton song. And I listened to it on holiday and was like crying. I was like, I don't know her. She probably made it up. But this is so sad and I don't know why.
Leave her alone.
And Elise, I have questions for you too. So balancing a career in user experience research with your academic pursuits is commendable. How do you think your anthropology background enriches your approach to user experience research and public policy?
Oh, that's a good question. So this is gonna sound really boring. So if anyone's like really unfocused right now, it's absolutely fine. But basically, I would say that so anthropology is really great because it's the study of human behavior, right, and what makes people do what they do, and it makes you really empathetic as a person. Like, I'm the worst person to talk to if you think what you're doing is slightly unethical, because I will make you feel bad. I'm joking. But I will question your behavior and why you do certain things in a certain way. And I think when I work in an industry, particularly in tech, where it's really easy to use people's information or people's habits against them because you're just seeing them as a number, because I recognize that people have these human behaviors for a reason, I'm more empathetic, which makes it much easier to have a genuine conversation with people that I do my research with. You know, I interview people. I'm not just here to ask you, you know, why did you move this money into this money? I'm not asking you what's your background, how did you learn that, why you save this way, or why you struggle to save money. And it's really nice because it's a really cathartic experience for people to talk to me about like why they're doing certain things when they feel like they may be able to not say these things to other people because they might be judged for their habits. And that's really important to me, something I really enjoy. And then when it comes to kind of my master's in international public policy, that was quite difficult to do that transition from anthropology to politics, because politics can sometimes, even though it's to do with people as well, can feel very cold. So it was really hard doing that change. And I felt that when I was doing research for making briefs for policy, it was really important for me to research stuff that was going to have a positive impact on people, even if it was a theoretical brief that would go to the UN. And that was important to me because, you know, I wrote about like the chocolate industry within Ghana and, you know, European implications in terms of their business objectives versus everyday farmers. And I could put my personal feelings into it without kind of compromising the research, because I was trying to have a positive impact by telling people stories. And I hope that I can continue to do that in my career going forward regardless, because, you know, people's everyday experiences are important. People will think that their voices are small and they're not. Everyone has an impact, so that's important. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
And I think it's amazing that you're in that space and that industry and have those views, because there are a lot of people that don't. So yeah, it's definitely powerful to hear.
Thank you.
And I definitely second your point about ethics. So you're passionate about advocating for equal opportunities for women of colour, salary, transparency, and mental health. Are there any resources that you'd recommend?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that kind of LinkedIn is a really good resource in general for following groups for like Black people in different spaces. If you're particularly interested in UX research, I follow a kind of Black UX research group. I feel like that is the name. I can't exactly remember. But there are a lot of groups of people who are willing to share resources with you for that reason. I think when it comes to things like salary transparency, that's a bit more difficult because people find it very difficult to talk about their salary. I'm very open about my salary progression. You know, from graduating, I went from like 27,000 to now I'm in the early 40,000 bracket, and that was only possible because I was jumping jobs. So, and people don't speak about that because it's still kind of not. It's people keep it very close to their chest and feel that you're going to be judged, or you know, too many questions will be asked, and a lot of companies tell you to keep that close. So I feel like the best thing you can do is to really just network with people, and that means to go to events or to just kind of reach out. And I've had people reach out to me and say, "Can I just have a quick conversation with you about your experience as a UX researcher?" And you never know how open people are going to be until you try. I think with other resources as well, I'm not going to lie, sorry, but TikTok is really great, TikTok University as it were, to find that kind of information as well. And I know that it can be difficult because a lot of people who give resources are based in the US. Trying to find things in the UK is a bit difficult, but if you just stick at it, hopefully you'll find something that is going to be useful to you, definitely.
I find that TikTok can be like a double-edged sword.
Yes,
Like it's got so much useful stuff. Like I saw someone's post about salary transparency, and there was this job, and it sounded really interesting. It's just like, why are they being so secretive about the salary, and why do you have to do this? And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. I would have just been like, yeah, here's all my stuff, and like figure out later. But it's like a lot of work to prep for an interview and the task and all that jazz for them to then offer you a salary that isn't compatible.
No, most definitely. I'm very much of a person. I didn't used to think that an interview was two ways, but now it is. I've said to people, "So what's your management style?" And they're like, "What?" Because you know, I like to not to make the interview feel uncomfortable, but remember that I have a right to be here as much as you have a right to talk to me. And I think that in terms of TikTok being a double-edged sword, it is. There can be a lot of information out there. I think it's important to kind of take your time when it comes to trusting people who you find on the internet. When I have people who book in mentoring sessions with me, I say to them, I really appreciate that you've put in this session with me, because I am a random person on the internet. You have no reason to trust me whatsoever. But I appreciate it, and I let them know. I always ask people, do you feel like you're getting your money's worth during the session? Do you feel like you've gotten what you needed? Is it? And I ask people to give me feedback as trying to coach people. That's really important, that you build that trust, that you build that rapport, because it's really hard to just reach out to someone, give it your best shot, and hope they can help you. So I hope that more people take that seriously, that responsibility. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to going for jobs, go for what you want, challenge. Don't stay in a space that isn't helping you. I think someone said a job should teach you something, or you earn a good amount. If one of those things falls, that's fine. If both, then no. So if as soon as you're in an environment that you're questioning, leave. And I feel like, I know that's hard if you've been in the job for like 6 months or something like that, but I always say to people that within 3 to 6 months, a career, your view of that particular space can shatter. I don't know why it's always 3 to 6 months that can happen. So don't be afraid to move on and find something that's good for you and makes you feel good about yourself as well. Yeah.
And for all the people that reach out to you on LinkedIn, thank you for responding to them. Because there are a lot of people that don't. Thank you. And Hammy, I have some questions for you. So I always admire people who change careers or their area they work in. What led you to shift from your curation degree and pursue software engineering?
Okay, so this is very much kind of what you're talking about. The basis of it is that I just don't like being unhappy, and if I'm unhappy in some place, I'm probably going to leave. But funnily enough, that's actually not the first degree I dropped out of. I dropped out of an English literature degree a few years before that. And I'll give you the reasons why I dropped out of all of them. The first one was that I got like 2 years in, I did really well, and then I actually imagined myself doing the job and the career that I was signing up to do, and I was like, that's not for me. I didn't want to sit behind a desk, and I don't know if it's just how I am, but if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. And that was what led me to kind of really think about what it is that I want to do and what I like. And I still loved being in the arts. I still loved people and talking to people, and that's how I found curation. And when I was studying curation, I really enjoyed it. Like, it kind of brought together all of the things that I really love about like academia. It was very cross-academic. It wasn't just focusing on art, and I really enjoyed that. However, the industry, the curation industry, the art industry in general is not great. I'm sure you all know. And again, it wasn't the subject, it was more where that was leading me. I was looking at like 5 to 6 years before I could even get like a junior curation role. And even then, that's filled with people that just know each other, and I'd be fighting against people that went to primary school together, and it just felt almost impossible. What was a really good thing that came out of that curation degree, and I guess kind of like making that leap, was that I opened myself up to a completely new group of people who showed me the world of making digital art, which was like blew my mind. And then through doing that, I was like, wait, I can kind of code a bit. I'm actually not too bad at that. And similarly, at the same time, my dad was like, you really need to like find one thing. Like,
And I like that you thought early, because I think when I did my degree, I just felt like I got on a train. Like, it just took off, and then in like third year, I was like, what do I want to do? The train's like coming to its station. So yeah, I think to think about it early is so important.
yeah, and like I always encourage anyone that I know that is like slightly younger to like actually think about what you want to do, and don't be afraid to change that in any way. Like, it's not set in stone. Like, what you do is not set in stone. You will change, your opinions will change, your hobbies will change, what you love will change. And like, feel free to change with that, because otherwise you will be very miserable. So yeah, it's all about flexibility.
And I have another question about art and technology. So art and technology define and continue to reshape the world we live in. What are you most excited about in that space?
Ooh, how nerdy can I go?
Really nerdy.
So like, I mean, I think I've said this before, like on like another talk that I was doing, but like I really love the idea of like humans interacting with like machines. And I think this is kind of where that like love for software came from, because I was like, I could like exert some control in something, which I thought was really cool. So like anything that will get like us like physically interacting with the tech, like so like an implant, or like I always say I want to like plug my brain in to like a computer. That would be really ideal. So any sort of like human computer brain interface would be like amazing. But like less kind of high level than that. Anything VR at the moment is really exciting. And I think it's taken years for us to get to the point where we have like something that even looks kind of feasible and that doesn't make you too sick. So like those sort of advances and like getting people onboarded into making things in VR, like getting more artists, more creatives working with like such an immersive tool is really exciting. Like, think about all the amazing things that we can get people to make once we have amazing artists and amazing technology to work with.
Yeah, I guess it could also open doors for people who maybe might have like financial barriers. Like, if you wanted to like see what it was like to go to, I don't know, the top of Mount Everest or Peru, like you could experience it in some way rather than, you know, like a picture on a phone or something.
Exactly that. I think like there is, and like I always get like hit back with the fact that headsets are really expensive, which is very true. But the value that you can get from them is huge, and also the £300-400 you might spend is very different to the 6,000 you might spend traveling. So even while it doesn't replace a lot of the experience,
access to certain things that you can get when you do things virtually, which I think is important. But yeah, it doesn't replace it, but I think it's still good.
And you previously mentioned that you view technology as a tool rather than a dependency. Could you expand a bit on what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think this is probably coming into tech from like an art background, or like from a like academically arts background. Like I wasn't really into like computer science or anything like that. And then learning how like things are built and building them myself. Like I was building like tax things, and I'd been doing this for like 4 months, and I was like, no way. So I think like it's knowing like how people make things, the people that are making things, and to seeing it like that made me really kind of see that like as much as we see like phones as an extension of ourselves, they're really not. We can control it. And I think like it's something that people, it's not that they're not cognizant of it, it's just that maybe they might forget it. So they know it, but they don't really consider it. The fact that your phone is actually not something that's really, that controls you. Like you can put your phone in the other room and it will be fine, you know. It's like, yeah, and I think that the whole reason why I'm really big on that is that I really want people to see tech as that tool and like kind of release their dependence on it. And in doing that, I think there will be a lot more creativity that comes from that as well. If we don't just see like tech as like our phones or like sharing our data, and we actually say, oh wait, I might be able to build something. Or, oh, I wonder what that looks like on the inside. Maybe that's similar to another tech thing I have. Oh, I wonder what it'd be like to build something like that. I think like you can get a lot more creativity from people. And that's what I want. If we start seeing it as like a tool and things that we use rather than something that is like integral to parts of our life.
And don't worry, you didn't get too nerdy. I've got a question for everyone. So have you had a very challenging moment on your journey? And how did you overcome it? And what lessons did you learn?
I'm going to have to think about that, but many challenging moments. I think, like, to start off with, the first challenging moment I had was when I was learning to code and I just didn't get it. And I was like, I quit my job. I've, like, quit my degree again. And I'm paying money. I've taken 4 months of my life out to basically learn how to do something and I can't do it. And it was absolutely terrifying, and there were a lot of tears, and it was, yeah, not fun. But I remember speaking to someone and them just kind of saying, you know what, just like relax and kind of be kind to yourself a bit. And yeah, that was the only way that I could ever overcome it, was just kind of like.
And it is real, but like sometimes the only way to get through something is to kind of like take that step back and be kind to yourself and just say, yeah, it's kind of okay actually. Yeah, I saw what someone said, TikTok, I think it was. Someone was saying that they got a really useful piece of advice that like always ask yourself, is it the end of the world? Like if you, I don't know, were supposed to bake a birthday cake and you burned it and you ruined the birthday, is it the end of the world? You can buy a cake. You can give the person a cake tomorrow. Like, is it the end of the world?
So yeah, I think my most obvious challenge is the masters and doing that full time and working full time. But I think when people ask me like, how did I do that? It's not as simple as what was difficult about it isn't as simple as the fact that I was doing both full time. It's also by the fact that the first job that I had a really, really bad manager. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. It did not make my life any easier before I started it, and when I was doing it, it set me like a mistake budget for how many mistakes I can make a week. Yeah, I know, right? Literally. And then, was like if he did something wrong, he would use me as a scapegoat and that kind of stuff, and that completely riddled me with anxiety, imposter syndrome. I wouldn't have gotten through it if it weren't for my partner, and then also also the fact that I had to really break out the mindset that I did not have to stay in that environment. And then when I moved to my current job, my manager at the time was absolutely amazing. She was totally understanding of the fact that I was doing a master's at the same time, and understood that I could still get my work done. I just had to be a little bit flexible in terms of being able to do my classes. And that was really hard managing both. But I think having people that actively support you, both in your professional life and in your personal life, is so important. And I feel like, someone said that, like, having a good manager, I think I saw that's not TikTok but LinkedIn, can like really make or break you, because you don't understand how the kind of impact that they can have on your, like, you're working 5 days a week or 6 days, whatever you're doing, and to talk to that person every day, you need to have like a good relationship with them. So that was a challenge I had to overcome. And I think another one in terms of my business is really just like when you said about getting scared about taking your foot off the pedal. I mean, I still have that. So can you give Donna's number to me? That's a fear as well. Like I think at one point my business was doing extremely well in terms of like I did a pop-up shop on Oxford Street, and that was amazing. Like my friends came to support me, which I really appreciated. And then I got super tired afterwards, and I just kind of felt like, oh, like how am I going to continue this? And then when you're trying to find that same momentum, that can be difficult. And then I realised that at the moment I'm taking a bit of a hiatus because I was like, I need to get my passion back. And that means, as I said, like kind of taking care of myself first and trying to, work things out about myself. For example, like, I kind of struggle with ADHD as well. Like, I'm not going to laugh, I was in the audience, I might be asleep right now. But like, working those things out first is kind of how I'm going forward, and then I can do better for myself. And like I said earlier, like for other people too. So yeah, that's my ramble.
I haven't had like one or like a significant big challenge. I think I have lots of little ones regularly. I'm basically just spinning so many plates all at once, and I think maybe the biggest challenge mentorship. You spend 3 years in, if you study to do drama, you'll spend 3 years being traumatized in the name of art, and then just kicked out into this industry and just like, okay, go get an agent then. And then even then when you've got an agent, you're just like spending the whole time waiting to hear, have I got an audition, or like waiting to get an email through for that, or if you're writing, you're just spending your whole time writing and then going up and having these meetings and getting like 3 steps in the door, and oh my god, like one of the UK's biggest TV production companies wants to like make my TV show. Oh, you've decided you don't want it anymore? Okay, cool. I've told everyone that I'm making a TV show. That's embarrassing. Little things like that. And this is not speaking of my own personal experience, and also like of friends who are also at the same sort of stage in their career as me, and you're sort of just a candle in the wind, and there's no one really giving you any guidance. So I think you get it if you ask. Like I'm with this film that I'm making at the minute, it's my first time directing for screen. I've never done it before. It's so different to directing for stage. But fortunately, because I have done screen jobs as an actor, I was able to go to the directors who have directed me in those jobs and say, like, are you doing anything at the minute? Can I just come and sit on set and just watch you? Or like, can you like have a quick coffee with me or something? Like you say, just reaching out to people and asking for help is definitely the only way forward. But yeah, I guess like is the world going to end? I have to have this conversation with myself every week. Like, Shakira, you're telling a story. You're not curing cancer. Jamie, you're not like ending humanitarian crises. You're literally telling a story. But in my head, I'm like, the world would implode if I don't get this meeting done by next week. And it's like, no, it's actually okay. There's bigger things happening in the world. Something I have to regularly remind myself.
I feel like I have a challenge every single day. My entire life is just challenges. I feel like I actually do a lot of it to myself because I am a heavy daydreamer, overthinker. And because my core vision is to just empower people, I always want to be in every single room. But that can be really hard sometimes when some people don't want you in that room. And you almost have to fight for the space that you're in. Like when you introduced me, you're like government consultant, which is cool. So it sounds like a really good title. But I spend a lot of time at Number 10, advising the special advisor to the Prime Minister, and my focus is on women, entrepreneurship, and education. But for me, education is the biggest part, just because for younger kids in the United Kingdom, access to entrepreneurial skills isn't actually something they truly get anymore. So being able to learn those soft skills, growing confidence, talk with confidence, and just learn those skills that can get them to interview with confidence, to speak with confidence, to make connections can be a really hard thing. And I'll never forget one of my earliest experiences being in that space at number 10 and having those conversations, but feeling like I wasn't being heard. And in my brain, it was like, okay, you're not doing enough. And then you spiral and you try and do 10 more other things to try and make up for the fact that you're in this space and, you know, like you have to be loud and you have to be bold, because if you don't, then who else will do it? So I feel like there are loads of challenges that happen in this world, but often it's the person trying to create the change that actually creates the challenges as well. Because I then realised that actually I am supposed to be in the room. I have loads to say, as you guys have already heard. And for me, it's about being very specific and very purpose-driven with what I said. And that's why when you asked about being a disruptor, I was like, yeah, I'm dragging people along because what I want to do is what I want to do. And for me, actually, there's been a lot of growth in that. And I've been able to have an impact in education and help loads of young people. But yeah, I feel like challenges happen every day. Like I got lost here and the station's just right there.
If you've not been somewhere before, it's so hard.
Soft life, I'm a passenger princess, and that's a really big challenge. Yeah.
And I don't know if you're like me. I guess because I was born in London, so I'm like, no, I don't need Google Maps. Like, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to find it, and then like sneakily have to like.
But then even then, Google Maps doesn't do its job.
No.
It'll take you through a building or something.
Yeah. And it doesn't like new builds. It doesn't like anywhere near Liverpool Street because everything's new. I ended up like walking around a building because it didn't realise where I was supposed to go. And I've got another question. A few of you touched on imposter syndrome, and sometimes feeling like spaces weren't inclusive. Have you got any advice for people?
I really feel like the work starts with you. You have to be really honest with who you are as an individual, where you sit in this world, what it is you want to do. Once you know that, you then need to be honest with the energy it's going to take to get there. Indie is always positive, but don't be confused. I also know the challenges to getting to where I need to be. So when I think about imposter syndrome and sometimes when it creeps in, that's a lie. I think I mentioned it before. I am my biggest hater, but I'm also my biggest champion as well. And so for me, I focus on that list of these are all the things that I know I can do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is the community that's going to help me. These are the resources I have. I know who I am. And that means that that voice that is less than gets smaller and smaller. I also look at the people that have come before me. International Women's Day is such a powerful, powerful, powerful thing, because the amount of phenomenal people that have struggled harder than I will ever struggle in my life to build a world where we can walk freely, dream freely, is insane. So for me, I hate the word realistic because that's terrible, but I think it's just about being honest with yourself, your abilities, and what it is you want to do. And then having a community of people that will also hold you accountable to that as well. So I know I have one specific friend, her name's Regina. I know for a fact this girl, her honesty will just strip my heart. But I love it because I know she's being honest from love. And sometimes you need that community. And that kills the imposter syndrome as well, because she will also tell me when she knows I'm great at something, but I'm acting a fool because I'm just nervous. And so that helps with killing that voice and building a strong voice as well. So it all links back to community for me.
Yeah, I guess I have a similar thing. The person who I co-run Piece of Cake Productions with is my best friend, who's practically like my brother, called Ibrahim Toure. Shout out you. And he regularly has to just sit me down and be like, I know that you really enjoy being over-prepared and like way ahead of schedule, but like you don't. It'd be nice to be ahead of schedule, but you don't have to be ahead of schedule. Like that's why the schedule's there, and like we have got time. Relax. And when imposter syndrome comes in with regards to my personal stuff, you know, he's one of the first people to remind me of everything that I've achieved on my own. And like, you can do it because look, you already have. Something that I've done by myself is I like to personify my imposter syndrome. So my imposter syndrome is called Terry the brain bouncer. And he's like a 50-year-old man, doorman. And I just see him as this man who just really wants to do his job of protecting me. So he's like, whoa, did you see the way that person looked at you? They might actually have it out for you. And I have to be like, Terry, I think she was just rubbing her eye because she's tired. It's all right, mate, go have a fag break. You know, when I go on holiday, I like to go to like yoga retreats and stuff to relax and sort of completely shut off. And at that point, I tell him he has to put his annual leave away in as well. I mean, when I'm on holiday, he's on holiday, and it's quite nice to have it as a separate thing and not to see it as my enemy or as something that's out to get me, but something that's actually just really worried about me and is trying its best to look after me. Because that's essentially what anxiety is. It's just your brain trying its best to protect you, and you just have to remind it sometimes, like, it's like, we're okay. Another great thing I learned through therapy is when I feel triggered by something, which version of me feels triggered? Is it 28-year-old Shakira now? Is it 15-year-old Shakira? Or is it like 9-year-old Shakira? And then I act accordingly. So when 9-year-old Shakira is triggered by something, okay, we're watching a movie, we're eating snacks, we're chilling out. If it's teenage Shakira that's feeling triggered at the minute, fuck it, let's go on a day trip to Brighton and get a new piercing. Like, whatever the version of me needs at that point, because I think sometimes we are trying to deal with things in such like an adult way. Like, no, I'm a grown up, just needs to get over it and move forward. And like, no, your inner child is like crying for help right now. Like, what does your inner child need? Like, I was speaking to my friend the other day and I was like, why did I ever stop playing with Barbies? I fucking loved Barbies. I genuinely think that's the reason I got into storytelling, because I used to have a box full of them, a massive tub, and I would set the living room up in the exact same way as it was when I left it the night before, like a TV series. Like, we'd pick up the storyline where we left off. So it's like, I've been actually writing stories since I was 3, and I loved it. And I remember I got to a certain age, and I think it was my older sister was like, you're going to secondary school now, you can't be playing with Barbies. And I remember being like, you can't? And I'd be like, okay, I guess not. But that brought me so much joy. Or like, you know, there's certain films that I loved watching as a kid. So now if I'm having a bad day and, you know, Inner Shakira needs some loving, let's put on that cheesy like musical that you used to love watching when you were a kid, and get that snack that you loved eating when you, or like your nan or your mum made you when you were poorly. Like, do that for yourself, for your inner child, because they're there and they're always going to be there no matter how old we get, and they need nurturing as well. And half the time whenever you're feeling stressed, it's actually not you, it's them.
That's true. And there must be a reason why there is like adult playground everything in London, like adult swings, like ball pits, trampoline.
We were just told we had to stop doing that. Like, oh, you're of this age, you can't have fun anymore. Fuck that.
I think when it comes to imposter syndrome, yeah, I do think it's like, it's a monster of your own making. I think, like you said, it's kind of there to make you feel safe. I mean, I probably feel imposter syndrome at my own wedding. I'd be like, what? Does he really love me? Yeah, I think that, I remember I saw something which was like,
Text him in the morning, like, you sure? We're still on for today.
I don't know, maybe. No, I remember seeing something which is like, if you're not a, you know, billionaire, like rich, like white man, then you probably belong where you are. Like, you probably got that job because they actually wanted you to have it or something like that. And I really stand by that, like, because there's a lot of times I'm thinking I'm in a room. Actually, you know what, scratch that. If you ever feel like you might have imposter syndrome, just look up Elon Musk, and like everything he has is just nothing he did on his own, like everything. And then watch like Glass Onion. It's another great movie, kind of like makes you feel about that. But I think for me, honestly, most of the time I think as adults, like a lot of time no one knows what they're doing, like just genuinely. Like, you know, I remember I was at work and someone messaged in our on Slack saying, guys, I don't mean to embarrass myself, but it's 1.5 years and I still don't know how this function works. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, I wish I had that kind of confidence to be like, I don't know what this is, but that's fine. I'm not an imposter. I just don't know something, or I'm not an imposter, I just haven't been in this position long. And then sometimes you can be somewhere for ages and still feel that, but it is something that's there to protect you, to make you feel like you can't go beyond your means, or you can't grow, or you can't, you know, step out your comfort zone. And I think that should be the case. Like, you know, myself and 2 other people in this room went to Brit school. I mean, I don't know if anyone else did. But like, you know, that was somewhere where like, I think it was like 1,000 or more people auditioned for music, and I was chosen. And I was chosen. Thank you. I was chosen out of all these people, and I still feel like I didn't belong. Like, do you know what I mean? And I was thinking to myself, like, you're never going to be able to make yourself happy until kind of you realize that you are worthwhile. That there's always going to be someone that's better than you at something. There's always going to be someone that's worse at you than something, you know? But like, this sounds so cheesy, but you're best at being yourself. Do you know what I mean? If you try to act differently, if you try to be like someone else, you're going to feel that imposter syndrome. So I feel like for me, I'm really glad that I'm stepping out of feeling that imposter syndrome. Most of the time I'm just like, you know, little miss panic first, but she'll work it out at the end. So I think that when you're feeling that sense of imposter syndrome, just take a second, realize that, you know, you're here for a reason, you're on this path for a reason. If that changes, that's fine. You never didn't belong. You just might have found something new, and you're always going to feel uncomfortable, but, you know, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's a sign of growth. But yeah, it might be, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I completely echo what you guys are saying about that. Like all the internal things, like I think are completely accurate. But honestly, for me, I don't know if it's because I'm like this, but like you just have to really look at people around you. Like if you're at work and you're like, I don't belong here, like actually look at your colleagues, because I think like sometimes when you're constantly thinking about yourself, you put other people on a pedestal. But like if you actually look at like your manager and your colleagues and what they're doing, I can guarantee you'll start to be like, wait, they're actually not that great. And if they're not that great and you're okay, you'll be absolutely fine. So I think it also takes like a little bit of like coming outside of your own head and really kind of humanizing the people around you. And like for me, a lot of my imposter syndrome will be very situational. For when I feel like it kind of, as most people, when you feel like you're not good enough to be where you are. But yeah, it's that real like taking that step back and really kind of looking at the people that you're around and humanizing them, seeing what they're like, actually looking at what they do, looking at their output, and yeah, getting out of your own head can be quite useful. And yeah, I think it's like that mix of like internal and external things that you have to do. I think like, you know, it's a trap that I always kind of tend to fall into, and I think this is the sort of thing that like led me to burnout, is taking on everything on your own. So like really kind of saying, okay, yeah, I am feeling this, and there is work that I can do. Sometimes the work is actually external, and sometimes they do actually need to make you feel welcome. And sometimes that imposter syndrome comes to the fact that people are being really rude to you and mean to you. So acknowledging that as well, that it's not always just you. So sometimes it will just be that. And yeah, like almost like they're getting the attitude of not even caring sometimes. Like even if you genuinely don't belong in a room, you're there. Might as well do the best with it what you can. So yeah, maybe just like a different mindset with that too.
Thank you. And I have a specific question about Brunel. So I'll give this to Elsie. Do you feel that Brunel is inclusive of every background?
Is this just for me? Okay. Is it inclusive of every background? That's such an interesting question. Okay, so, oh gosh. Okay, so so I do think that, to be honest, I think ethnically, I think Brunel is very diverse. I think that, you know, especially having gone to another university to do my master's and felt very isolated to know that other people didn't come from my particular background in terms of both ethnically, in terms of class, if middle class and working class still exists. You know, that kind of, I was very isolated in that way, but at Brunel, I've found so many like good friends who I still talk to now, who are very supportive of me. And you know, my class was predominantly Black women, which was really amazing to know we all had a very similar passion for things. I think that in terms of very lean towards men, in my opinion, a lot of men. Sorry, I was noticing that. But I think that, yeah, in terms of is it diverse and kind of goes to people with different backgrounds? Yes, because to be honest, I went to Brunel through clearing. So initially, you know, my A levels were not banging. You know, they weren't given GCSE grades, but they were. So you know, I was really grateful that I had Brunel to go to, and it was like the best thing that could have possibly happened to me because I was accepted based on like my personal statement, not my grades. So that meant that, you know, no matter your background, so someone could, like we were saying about the entrepreneurial thing, right, that you could have that kind of passion, that interest, and that would be recognized. And I'm so grateful for that because a lot of universities might not notice that, a lot of educational systems don't notice that, the government doesn't notice that, like, do you know what I mean? People in creative industries, it's not noticed if you don't have the grades, like, do you know what I mean? And that's not good, but Brunel provides you with that space. I think I kind of hesitate when you ask that question because I wish I had implemented myself in more social stuff. I was so invested in my course that I didn't really get out there and meet even more people that I could have met. So yeah, I think it's a great decision to go, at least for anthropology. I can't speak for everyone else. But yeah, it was one of the best things that could have happened to me, definitely.
And I really do think that clearing is a really valuable option for people because I feel like there's so much pressure for A-level grades, and to have that option is important.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think one of the best things is like, you know, if I post things on my TikTok, people are like, oh my God, she must have gotten crazy great, like really good grades. And I'm like, bruh, no. And it's nice because it's just a case of like, you know, even when I interview with people and stuff like that, like I always think it's my passion for stuff that gets me ahead, not necessarily my brain, because I consider myself to be someone who doesn't think like everyone else does. I overthink, I might not misunderstand the question, that kind of stuff. So, you know, to be in an institution that accepted me for who I am, you know, it's lovely. Yeah.
And we have another audience question for everyone. What's the best approach you found to managing your schedule and to-do list?
Oh, so I don't know how I'm going to pass this mic on from Miriam. Managing a schedule and to-do list. Cut down your schedule. I think the best thing that I did, to be honest, was I invested in Calendly. Now, that's going to sound super weird that I did it with my friends. I would literally say to them, I'm so bad at double booking. Please book in a time with me based on my calendar. And then I think, it really helped, honestly. And then I think also in terms of kind of balancing things, make sure you look at prioritize stuff. You're not gonna be able to do everything at one go, like, or, you know, as you said, kind of being in all different rooms, like you can't do that. And then the best thing for you to do is, okay, what is this serving me? Kind of what objective is this meeting? And then, you know, you do that. If something can't work right now, that's fine. It's okay to say no to things. And then you just work from there. Like, you don't have to go for every opportunity. And I think that will help you create a schedule that works for you, create a routine. And you can slowly build that up. Don't try and do everything all at once and then cut it down. That's not the best way to do things. I feel like I should start.
For me, it was like just not over-engineering everything. Like, literally just use my notes app and a calendar. That is it. Like, I did way too much. And you end up like scheduling time to schedule things. That was my thing, like trying to find a new app to use and figuring out how to use it and then integrating it with everything. It was just like hell. So yeah, I just have a to-do list in my notes app and I just put things in my calendar, and I found that that's like taking the pressure of like integrating multiple different things. But in terms of like making sure that you like don't overschedule yourself, like having really clear like cutoff times for things. Like, as I said, I now don't work past like 7 or 8. And really being strict with that. You find that you actually do have the time in the day to do things once you are really strict, because you'll be like, oh, I'll do that later, I'll do that later, I'll do that later. Then it's 4 a.m. and you're doing it then. So yeah, being really strict with yourself will really help with that.
I laugh every time there's a question about like well-being or scheduling and stuff, because I'm so in the thick of it. Like, I'm still very much learning this, and everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, that's correct. I should like not work past 8 p.m. Like, I'm not going to do that, and then catch me tomorrow on my MacBook at 1 a.m. Like, yeah, I'm trying to schedule in rest into the schedule, because I kept saying to like everybody, including my therapist, like I like to have a to-do list, and once I've ticked everything off, then I'll rest. But then I tick 3 things off and 5 things that get added to it. So it's like, okay, the rest isn't coming. So now it's scheduling that in, feeling okay to say no to be. I'm a recovering people pleaser, and being okay to say no to people and not, get rid of FOMO and not have to go to this event or go to that party or do that thing with that person. Feeling okay with cancelling on people, because I'm fine when people cancel on me, but for some reason put loads of pressure on myself to not cancel on other people. But yeah, I'm still figuring it out, the scheduling thing. I'm currently in a place where I'll say yes to a lot of stuff, and then on the week off have to go back with my towel between my legs and be like, I literally can't do this, because like with you, I'll have like a coffee in the morning, something at lunchtime, something in the evening, maybe something even after that, and it's like you are just one person. And reminding myself that time isn't running out. I don't know, I feel like I have this like this thing over me, over myself. No one else is putting this pressure on me at all, that time's running out and I need to get everything done now. And through wanting to get everything done now, I'm not being here now. And I want to do the opposite. I want to do less and be here more. So yeah, it's still a work in progress, but I guess I'll get there eventually.
Everything you said is me. I'm also a recovering people pleaser. I'm an early riser, so regardless of the day, I'm up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my neurodivergent brain. I really love working when I know nobody else is awake. I love that piece. Like, it's not the same as, working when someone's off. No, you be asleep, because at least I know there's no chance for you to message me. But what that means is that my day is like 4 a.m. to like 10 or 11 p.m. Like, I don't really have a cut-off period. And so I am always I'm an introvert. Well, I'm more of an ambivert. I am both introverted, but can be extroverted depending on the person and the situation. But I'm tired every single day. And so I do 3 really important things. 1, I now have an executive assistant, which I know sounds bougie, but she's an extension. For me, it's really, really important that I have someone that can help me figure it out, because things are always coming at me and it's really, really hard. We're only human to be able to stop and process all of them in the time that they want it to be processed in. And I'm just like, oh, this person sent me a good opportunity, but I'm reading it like 3 weeks after they sent it. So for me, it's really important to have someone that can help me go through all of that. Also, I'm really bad at emails. Like, I am the worst, like the absolute worst. So having someone is really good. And I time box everything. So I really like looking at my day and being like, okay, these are the 10 things I need to do. And I also include rest now in that as well. So I have 3 rest periods. And for me, it's like, it's not resting and working at the same time. It's actually removing myself from work and doing whatever it is I want to do that brings me joy, as long as it is not working. And then the final thing I do is I do something called Eat the Frog, where it's basically where you pick the thing you hate the most in the day and you do that first. And it's the point that once you've done it, it's done. You don't need to worry about that specific thing anymore. I don't know why it's called Eat the Frog. There's a book, but it also just always sounds really morbid when I tell people to eat the frog, or someone looks at my calendar and it's like, eat the frog, and it's like, I'm not actually eating frogs. And those 3 things have really helped me, because I don't think I will ever stop. I don't think I can ever stop, so it's really helpful to have those things in place.
And you're right about like brain capacity, and it's not bougie, even though it sounds bougie to have an assistant. Because my sister's a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and she was telling me like one of the reasons in the book why he's so clever is because he doesn't know everything. He knows the things he needs to know to solve the case, and he might not know the currency they use and wherever, but he'll find the murderer for you, and that's his job. And I think, yeah, I agree. Having someone to help you manage your day, and as someone who logged off with over 200 emails unread, I understand.
I have 20,000 unread emails in my inbox. Yeah,
20,000.
20,000.
That makes me so
give me
stressed.
anxiety.
That's-
Yeah.
I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Wow, that's nothing. I got like 50, right?
I have well over like 90,000.
Okay, everyone get the devices out right now.
And I was there.
I can
And I
understand how
ignored
people
90.
delete their, what's it called, emails and
I
their
have to.
They use
I
March.
just
Just
log
in. I will unread. I'll be like, oh, I've read
Yeah,
it.
I just open the ones that are important and I just go through like, alright, cool, this is open, so it's
No,
important.
hold on. I don't know, are you talking about like everything, including your social promotions, or are you talking about your main
No, I'm
inbox?
talking about my main inbox.
Oh, like my main inbox as well, promotions separate, that's even more.
And we have 2 more questions. I think that battery might have gone, so I'll pass around. But what career advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't be afraid to quit. Like I did it anyway, but like just don't be scared to do that. Like just don't be afraid to change. Like don't be afraid to quit. Like nothing really is set in stone. Like just allow yourself to kind of move and flow with it, whatever it is that you're feeling. I guess the only thing that I would regret is that I maybe stayed a little bit too long in things that I didn't really like, and for no reason other than I thought I should just do it. So yeah, just follow what your gut's telling you.
Like that one, that's good. My career advice for my younger self would be, oh gosh, don't be afraid to speak up in rooms where you feel like your voice might not be heard. Like, just do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of the time I was just like quiet because I thought, oh no, I'll just be silent and just observe, even if I had things to say, because I was too nervous to say anything. I think had I done that more, I would have met people who would be more influential to me quicker. Because I'm not an unlikable person, I don't think. But, and that would have had a better impact. I'm glad where I am today, but I think I could have, I was hoping to do things quicker. I'm only turning 24. But, maybe I could have met more people, had more mentors, connected to more people, had I just been braver in terms of speaking up and being more confident in spaces. So, yeah, definitely.
Career advice for my younger self. I guess it's to my current self as well. Relax, ask for help. This is a really lovely question because it's like I'm doing everything that a really young version of me wanted to do. I feel really fortunate to be able to say that like what 3, 5, 6-year-old Shakira wanted to do, I'm doing right now. But I had a massive chunk of time. I had about 7 years where I wasn't doing anything in my industry. And I think for a long time I regretted that. And I think maybe that's where this whole I'm running out of time comes from, is that I had a big gap of, a lot of people start being a child performer and then they carry on their whole life. And I felt like I had this big chunk of time sort of not in the industry, but I'm in a place where I'm actually very glad for that as well, because that life experience has given me lots of stories to tell. And I wrote an award-winning play on one of the things that happened in that span of time. So keep going and chill out and ask for help.
Regardless of the route you take, you're going to make it. So just live your best life. It's something I still tell myself now, because for me, I'm always growing. Like indie version 1 was chaos. But this is nicer chaos. This is version, I would say, like 6. And I'm so excited to see what version 10 is going to look like. But for me, it's more like a whisper from God saying, you're going to make it anyway. I've already determined that. So just enjoy the journey that I'm taking you on. And I think also your lows were never lows to break you, but to build you. So sometimes in order to grow, you have to be bruised, because it helps you learn, and that's okay. You're not failing, you're actually thriving. And surviving only, it then leads to thriving. So enjoy the entire experience.
And then the final question: what can we look? What can we each do to celebrate the women around us?
That's a hard one. Listen to them, maybe. I think another thing that a lot of women experience is like feeling unheard or unseen as well as a big one. So like maybe acknowledging, seeing, listening to women in your life will be a big thing, especially women that are older, kind of the silent, generation of women that, as you get older, you kind of fade into the background. So acknowledging the old women in your life as well, like listening to them, seeing them, hearing them, is a good thing to do.
I think listening is a great one. I think not being afraid to like champion other women. I'm the kind of woman who will walk up to you and compliment you if you don't know who I am. And some people find that weird, but do you know what I mean? Exactly, yeah. But do you know what I mean? Exactly. But I feel like particularly as a black woman, it's normal for if you stare at another woman, like it comes across for some reason as if you're screw facing, and I'm not. Like I'm just admiring your beauty. So I'll actively be like tell people, and some people might think that's superficial, but it's not. And I feel like doing that kind of thing makes a huge difference. Like if you're having a really shit day, but someone says, I like her trainers, and I actually do. There's a really nice trainers, by the way. Exactly. That can make a whole difference to someone's day. And I think that, kind of also looking to women for advice. I think that was like a really nice TikTok post about, was it women under 30 asking questions to women 30 and up, and they would like answer. And like there were so many questions and so much advice, and it was really, really nice. And I think that I kind of want to see that more, because even when I'm looking for things and advice, a lot of it can be coming from men, even if I look at like fitness stuff online, stuff like that. So to have women to speak to talk to is always really important, because we have a lot to say and a lot of advice to give. So yeah, it can be really nice.
Yeah, definitely give them their flowers. Well said there. We can't read minds, so if you like what someone looks like, let them know. That's of all creeds, not just women. But I guess how to support women. If you are not a woman, especially if you're a masc-bodied person, if you have a Y chromosome, my business partner Ibrahim and I have a thing where I text him just the letter Y when he has to deploy the Y chromosome card in meetings, because sometimes we'll have chats and I will ask the question, but they will answer to him, or we'll be in a conversation and I'm sat there and they're all just talking like this, and I'm like, or we'll be in a group chat or an email thread and I'm asking a question constantly and it's just being completely ignored, and then he asks it once and of course it gets answered. And that unfortunately is the way the world still works in the society that we have. It's not, we're all actively, hopefully, trying to go against that, but we also have to accept what is, and it's about figuring out systems to work with what is. So our system is he deploys the Y chromosome card when it's needed. To listen to women, to ask for help, but also just to remember that we are in society are the help givers and we are the nurturers, and we naturally want to take things on a lot. As we've heard from this discussion, I'm someone who likes to take things on, and I'd rather just do it myself than ask you, because I already know what the end goal looks like in my head, and also I don't want to put too much on you right now. So if you see or work with or live with or are around a woman who feels like they're doing too much, just because she's not asking for help doesn't mean she doesn't need it. And sometimes she finds it really hard to ask because we're just not told how to do that. We're told to suck it up and do it for other people. So offering help rather than just asking for it, and sort of demanding that you will give help works for me a lot. Someone coming up to me and being like, no, I am doing these tasks today. I'm like, yes, okay. And I didn't realize. And sometimes I'll give a bit of pushback. I'm like, no, I want to be in that meeting. And then my business partner will be like, you don't have to be. I can give you bullet points afterwards, and that gives you an entire hour to do something else like rest. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I didn't even think that other option. So yeah, sometimes tell them that you're taking things off their plate, whilst also keeping it inclusive. Don't just actually just take things off their plate.
I agree with all of what's been said. I loved what you said, because for me it's so important that women support women, which does not happen enough. It almost feels like sometimes you feel like we're against each other. Me, I'm also someone, oh my gosh, you're so cute. Like, I've been staring at your nose ring. I'm like, I just love that. I want to tell staring at your skin, like, why are you glowing so much? How do I do that? And I already told you I love your glasses. For me, it's just like, I just want everyone to feel good, and I want them to feel loved, and I want them to feel excited about who they are. So for me, I don't care even if the response is negative. I will always go out of my way to celebrate the beautiful people, the beautiful women in front of me, because we are so beautiful. And I think for people that don't identify as women, I feel like you should go into your community and ask them what they need. Because something that often happens is that we're like, you speak for people, but we don't generally know. I know I need someone to boss me about and be like, yeah, I'm going to do that for you. And that's why I have an executive assistant. But then I know that may not work for other people. And let it be something you do outside of this month as well. I think if I could give any piece of advice, support outside of just like March. How can you empower the next generation of women that are changing the world? But I would say my number one thing is, what is the language you are using to kind of like address, to liberate, to empower women? And I give an example, like I was watching a TikTok video, and a guy was having an argument, and he was like, you hit like a girl, and stuff like that. Like, it's funny, but it's not funny, because actually in our minds we're saying that girls are weak. And that's the type of language that just travels through life and history, and it's small things like that. So maybe check what you're saying and how you're saying it and how it has an impact, because I am a girl, but I'm also 6 foot and I'm pretty strong for a girl, so I don't think anyone wants me to hit them. But yeah, you might have someone that's smaller, like, and still hits with power. Like, it's the concept of being a girl. I wouldn't change it. Like, if I had an option, I'd stay the same, because I'm just wonderful. So just small stuff like that.
To add to that, I have this fantastic quote on a t-shirt. It's actually in Spanish, but I won't offend your ears by attempting it. But what it means is, it says, I'm fragile, not like a glass, fragile like a bomb.
Yes.
And I feel like that encapsulates women, and I think that's a great way to wrap up International Women's Day chat. Fragile like a bomb. Don't try and...
I loved what you all said about listening, hearing them, especially women of all ages. I think traditionally, in a lot of communities, like older women had this like position of like reverence, like they were the women who held the wisdom that you'd go to for like proverbs, or like, I don't know, like I've got a card and it's not healing, and they just like be this font of knowledge, and like somewhere along the way they kind of just got pushed aside. But they have so many valuable tidbits and advice, and I think I'm also like both of you. I need to be told, I'm doing this, you're not doing it. Like I do Sunday school at church, and our like priest was like, no, we're not doing it. And I was like, but I love it. And he was like, I know you do, but you're not doing it over the summer holidays because you can go on holiday. And I was like, okay, I can go on holiday. But I think especially when you enjoy something, it's hard to stop because you love it. And I do love the compliments and shouting people out, because I think, yeah, you can just see how people light up. And there's even like science that shows that if I do something kind to you, you'll go forth and randomly do something kind to somebody else, because you remember the kind thing that was done to you, and you can create like a chain. Someone at work always does that. She always like says thank you to people and notices what people does, and it's like, I love your earrings and your fringe and your hair, and you just see everyone like, oh. So thanks for everyone for coming today, to our amazing panelists, to Jeffrey who's been running around making sure things are running. Oh, sorry, we just have one more question. 2 more questions. On the live. So, for everyone, who or what is your source of motivation?
Can I come back to that? Who or what? That's such a good question. I'm not gonna lie, mine really fluctuates. So, like, a lot of my motivation comes from the women in my family. My mum and my sister are crazy inspirations for me and keep me going. Like, when I'm having like a really tough time, it's really nice that they've always been someone who encouraged me to go out my shell, and I can come to them and speak to them. But I would say also my partner as well. My partner does a lot for me. You know, it's because we're you know, the same thing actually when my friends in my room, Susanna as well. We're very much opposites. Like, a lot of the people I have in my life are quite opposite to me, but also bring out the best in me for that very reason. Yeah, my partner always encourages me to be my best self and to like remember that I don't have to be the person that everyone wants me to be. And Sana continuously challenges me and encourages me to like remember my worth and my value, which I'm always grateful for. So I feel like, you know, I have plenty of people in my life who push me, and even women on this panel as well. Like, you guys have been super, super cool. And I feel very motivated and very inspired after today, so I appreciate that a lot.
How do I follow that?
You don't.
What motivates me on a broader scale is like, I have a dream. I have like a real vision in my head of me on a ranch in Barbados, picking the fresh produce that I have grown with all my little picnic, and I look up and my sexy partner has just stood at the door and the sun is beating off their skin with a cup of coffee in their hand, like, or a cup of matcha in their hand, like, and I'm like, yeah, you knew it, because we just get each other. So every time I get stressed out, every time I'm like, what am I doing it for? It's like to get to the ranch on Barbados. Like, and don't get me wrong, I could literally like fly there tomorrow, find someone and be like, do you want to have some kids and like go find some land? I'm sure. But to do it in the way that I want to do it, you know, I want to have success now in the industry that I'm in, which is mainly here, and I want to grow my company to a point where we get to a point where someone else is running it on the ground for me whilst I'm out in Barbados running it remotely. But then on a smaller scale, my motivation every day is watching the work that we do with our company and how that affects the people around us. And just, you know, there's certain things that I do which feels like light work for me. Like, I only had to send a couple of emails to get 20 free tickets to this theatre show to bring, you know, all of these underrepresented people to come and see a show that wouldn't normally have the access to do that. To me, that's light work. I just had to send 2 emails. But the level of gratitude that people have after that, and then watching them all these people who didn't know each other before, like networking and sitting and chitting and chatting in the interval and afterwards and swapping socials, and then in a couple of months' time being like, oh, you guys are making a song together, or like, oh my God, you guys are working on that thing together, and being like, oh wow, the work that we're doing that sometimes feels like either super light work for me or like way too stressful for me, it's doing things for other people, and that's what brings me back down to earth, and that's what makes me realise like this is, yeah, that's what motivates me to keep going with that.
Everything is God for me. Like, I look at myself and I'm like, really? How did I get here? It's not me, like, not at all. It's because of the grace of God. You know, I spoke about versions before. Like, I just think about the shy indie, like 5-6 years ago, and who I am now. I think about the communities I'm in. I think about the different relationships I have. I think about some of the wildest things I've been able to experience, and for me it's all because of God. And then second to that, it's because of my mum. She is, man, She's the greatest woman in this world. There will never be anyone like her, ever. I don't care how great they are, they could never match my mum, because she's someone that she's so ride or die, it's just slightly scary. But she, even when I felt like I was nothing, she always told me that I could be anything. She values knowledge, wisdom and kindness over everything, and she makes it very clear, if you have that foundation, there is nothing you cannot do. I could tell her that I have broken the law, and I know for a fact she will lie for me. She's phenomenal.
Allegedly.
There you go. So God and my mum, like, they are my foundation.
Yeah, it's really great listening to everyone's answers. Like, it reminded me of like a few things. Like, I guess kind of like that bigger dream and like thinking about it. Like, the biggest motivator for me is not doing what I love, because for me to not do what I love, I'd have to be in a really good position for me to like really let go. So like, I always imagine myself like really kind of like walking away from everything and thinking, yeah, okay, I did it. And that's quite motivating. But like also short term, like I really love wine, so like I'll buy myself a really nice bottle of wine and say like, oh, I'm only gonna drink it once I do this one thing. Or like I'll get myself something like, or book something for a time where I know that I should have done something by then. So like I might book myself a massage and say I can only go to it if I actually finish that. So like small things like that, small treats along the way can also be like quite motivating and keep you like chugging. So yeah.
And we have one more question. Okay, we'll give people 30 seconds to answer the question. Someone asked, how can we empower women to achieve gender equality? So maybe if two people answer that, and then, so maybe if you two answer that, and then how can I, as an ally, contribute to ensuring that women feel represented, safe and empowered?
For gender equality, I think a big thing is allowing women to do what they actually want to do, not pigeonholing them into like careers that you might see as like male dominant, but allowing women to do things that you might see as typically feminine as well, and giving them the same respect. So like affording women the same choice that men actually have, basically.
I would say, let me grab it from you so ferociously. I would say for me, intersectional feminism is really important. Remembering that not every woman's struggle is the same. Like, do you know what I mean? The struggle of me as a black woman in the UK isn't the same struggle as a black woman in the Caribbean or an Asian woman, you know, in India or whatever like that. So to remember that is really important, and recognize that when someone is upset about something, they might have a right to listen to them, have that conversation, and then we'll get closer to that, definitely.
Yeah. The way to be an ally, deploy the Y chromosome card if you are someone who holds that. It's actually so important to do that. And if you're someone who doesn't have a Y chromosome card, but you are a white person in a room with a black woman, deploy that card as well. And when I say that, I don't mean to take over. It means to say, oh, Elise was actually the one who asked you that. Oh, actually, you know, point them back to the person. Don't take over. Redirect.
Everyone has a woman in their life, so advocate for them. And it's as simple as understanding their needs, getting to know them. You don't need to ask questions, you can just observe, but advocate and champion for them. And it's as simple as that, because we at least know a woman birthed you, so that's enough for you to care about their needs as well.
So thanks to everyone for joining. Happy International Women's Day and month, and a special shout out to the partner who was mentioned a lot, who's in the room, who will be there on the wedding day. Thank you, everyone.
Just one quick thing before we close off. So we're gonna announce it this weekend, but this Sunday, it's 3 years of us doing Pick Up the Mic, 3 years since our first episode. So yeah, we're very, very happy about that. And to celebrate, we're doing a nice, cool event at Somerset House. So we're going to do another sort of more bigger style event like this. So yeah, we will email you all the links. But yeah, there's pizza. Feel free to have pizza. We do have to leave by 9 at the latest. So I will say, if you want to take some pizza home with you, you're more than welcome to. But yes.